Hi, everybody. This is Lee. I'm looking at an article at Black Agenda Report written by Bruce Dixon, who's the managing editor. He's also co chair of the Green Party of Georgia. I met him at the Green Party convention in Houston. He's a great fellow. And I managed to speak with him about Green Party happenings, the possibility of Georgia having green on the ballot. He led the ballot access campaign there. It was not successful, but the Green Party is still active in Georgia. And apparently, there will be an effort to recruit candidates for local office. And so we'll have to see how that goes in Georgia. But he's written an article which I thought was a great summary of the recount effort. I've spoken of the recount that took place about 4 or 5 videos, maybe 6. But I think Bruce Dixon has written a great article that really does a great job of summing up all the issues surrounding the recount effort in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. His article is Grand Theft Electoral Aborted Recount Effort Shows U.S. Elections Are Broken, Recount-Proof, and Audit-Proof. In other words, the election system that we have in the United States is not a shiny light or a beacon to the world. We are not an example to the world of how to continue a democracy or a democratic republic or whatever people want to call it. But we are not a shining light, a beacon, or a role model. There are many flaws within our voting system. And so Bruce Dixon says that before judges and state officials aborted it, the attempted recount initiated by Green Party candidate Jill Stein revealed and confirmed specific patterns of widespread interstate electoral tampering in the presidential election just past. I don't really understand what this says. Just past that zero in on Black and brown communities. The craven need of Hillary and the Dems to blame the Russians for the loss proves that they own the current broken and rigged electoral system just as much as Republicans. And so there it is. For me, it's a relief to know that there is recognition that Hillary Clinton was complicit in what happened. The fact that she didn't speak up or make really an effort kind of indicates that maybe she was part of the problem. So Bruce Dixon says it's absolutely certain that voters were disappeared by the millions in the months leading up to the election. It wasn't the Russians that did this. It was likely the Democratic Party during the primary that did it. Bruce Dixon is saying Republicans that, I've already spoken myself on the widespread voter fraud that took place during the Democratic primary that actually saw things happening similar to what happened in the general, only it was the Democratic Party that did it. Bruce Dixon goes on to say that it's likely that hundreds of thousands, perhaps million more votes were made to disappear on election day. Russians didn't do this either. It was likely the Republican Party that made an effort to suppress the votes of certain groups that they thought might vote Democratic. Bruce Dixon goes on to say it's clear that state and federal courts intervened to abort any recount before detailed and damning evidence could be developed in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And so he goes on to describe how the recount proceeded in these 3 states and what the federal courts did to make that harder than it needed to be. Bruce Dixon asked the question, why didn't Hillary Clinton expose the massive interstate tampering with ballots in largely Black communities or constituencies? And so he goes on to discuss that as well. Um, and I'll let people read through and get their own understanding of the cynicism that's involved with the Democratic Party and using these constituencies when they need them and then discarding them when they don't. Bruce Dixon goes on to say the attempted recount showed the need for a constitutional amendment guaranteeing the right to vote. The fact being that the Voting Rights Act of 1967 had been consistently attacked since 2013, and that this was underneath Barack Obama's presidency administration that the Supreme Court made efforts to get the Voting Rights Act, which resulted in a briar patch of local voter ID laws, gerrymandering, cross-check databases, felony disenfranchisement restrictions, black box voting, and machinations of state and local officials, closing of poll stations, along with courts declaring voters have no right to an auditable election. So he's saying that it does need to be a constitutional amendment. Bruce Dixon goes on to say, did the attempted recount damage the Green Party, which is a very important question. He's saying certainly not. I agree with him. Green Party was not damaged. It was not a Green Party effort. It was actually a Jill Stein for President effort. This was Jill Stein's recount. She owns what efforts she made at getting these recounts completed in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. She had reached out to the Green Party to accept large donations to fund the recount. The Green Party said no, they do not take corporate funding. And so it was not a Green Party effort. It was Jill Stein. Jill Stein took looks like about 150,000 individual donors, which averaged out to less than $50 apiece, according to the Jill Stein campaign. And so these people habitually give to Democrats, but they have put themselves on a list of the Green Party or Jill Stein's campaign. And so likely her campaign will share that donor list with the state and local Green parties. But it was definitely a Jill Stein effort, the recount. So the state and local Green parties, the Green Party itself was not damaged by this recount effort. And that the Stein campaign will likely donate the leftover funds to voter integrity efforts around the country. Bruce Dixon is saying it would be good if some of those efforts target the communities which were disenfranchised. And that these efforts need to be run by Greens and not Democrats. He's also asking the question, was it necessary? Did the recount need to be done? The answer, he says, is yes. And I also agree with that. It didn't have to happen in order to expose the multiple issues with the voting system, specifically the fact that there will be an effort to recruit Green Party candidates for 2017 and 2018 during the midterms. And it would be hard to recruit candidates without reforming the election system that we have. It's severely flawed. There's a need for paper balloting. There's a need for hand counting and exit polling, which are all three the gold standard of any electoral system. And this is how Switzerland, this is how Germany run their elections. And then certain states in the United States still run their elections like this. And their elections go like a clock. Then you come to Pennsylvania where there's no accountability whatsoever, no way to audit or hand count or have exit polling or anything like that in Pennsylvania to reassure the voter that their votes were counted. And so we need to do better. basically, and Jill Stein's recount enhanced the need for that. But anyway, I'll leave a link to this article by Bruce Dixon in the description, and you can go through it and see what you think. Good luck.